wonder of it, but you feel an influence and a memory, and you can remember how wonderful it was often. And I have these experiences, you know, when I've hiked out to camp somewhere way far out, and I hike up to this ridge and see this beautiful view, you know, that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world, and it just feels like the place that I am at is this particularly unique and individual point, and then at the same time that is connected with all the points and 50 miles of vista, uh, all connected together as well. And that's just a characterization, you know. It's like also interactions I've had with animals. You know, just about every time I've seen a coyote, it's felt spiritual for various reasons. And not just seeing the coyote, but like the time leading up to it, they had this characteristic to it. And it feels really good. I mean, now I think it's silly to give metaphysical reality to these. I think that is where we go insane. Okay, that is what turns spirituality into just ordinary, superstitious nuttiness. Uh, these experiences add together much more like riddles. You know, riddles where something can end up meaning its opposite depending on the next step in the riddle. You know, it could look like one conclusion and then switch around and look like a totally different thing in just a moment. If you're having a series of spiritual experiences, which I advise in your life, do. This is the point of rituals. Because with the ritual, um, something about the tempo or the expectations of the setting, you can have spiritual experiences, including negative ones. Um, so if you set up a time to celebrate something that is worthy of celebration in your mind, then I think you can increase the possibility of having a proper set for a spiritual experience. Again, even with genuine spiritual experiences, there's a corruption of self-satisfaction, of setting up spiritual experiences. You know, something like Timothy Leary and LSD. By seeing LSD as a spiritual drug, that was really the lower side of anything Timothy Leary had to do in researching, you know, this substance. And there was a self-satisfaction, you know. You can't exploit spiritual experiences to guarantee evolution. It just doesn't work like that. But I do think that spiritual experiences are here to motivate humans to a higher action, higher meaning more complex than the individual. And I think that is materially pretty straightforward to justify if you look at our urges like lust, or our urges as lusts. You know, procreation, lifelong partnership, and lust. You know, whereas lust is very crude, um, it's here motivating us to think beyond the individual instead of just our own survival. You know, partnership such that we can raise, you know, a child, and suddenly this urge is giving us a reason to care about the future beyond when our life is over. So that's a higher kind of goal in a sense. Now, it's arbitrary. It's higher, you know, just from one perspective. But see, I'm talking about our perspective and our genetic perspective, which is a perspective that is shared throughout the biosphere on Earth. So I think that the spiritual urge is here to connect us with that whole biosphere so that we see the connection, you know, we see the beauty in our own uh, unique place, you know, that there is will at least appearing to us, and that's that individuality. That's where nobody else is sitting right here and seeing this stuff from the same angle, you know, as I am. And you're watching it on the camera, and even you guys, well, the square should be fairly consistent, but the colors on your monitor are different. There's different windows around it, and so on. And you know, the computer's in a different setting. Everybody is having their own unique. That you see the beauty of that. At the same time that you see the intricate clockwork around you that you fit with so well that it's easy to imagine that you actually extends into them and vice versa. Right? Because think, we're made of billions of parts. And we're in a system where all these things depend on each other, and there's communication. You know, they're not as fast as nerve endings, but they're there. They're connections, and it's more slow. We have a separation, right? Because we are individuals. We also have this connection, and when you're connected with a larger body, that whole body is you as well. And every individual in it can feel that way and does feel that way, and there's some truth in that. And so in that sense, you are a part of them and they are a part of you. And this all makes sense in a relativistic interpretation of things, because there's room for all these dimensions of my identity being the center of the whole, and your identity also being the center of the whole. And then in some more true sense, the identity of the whole being the combined sense of identity. It's a very multiple point of view at that point, because obviously, like, the point of view of a whole nation has a lot of contradictions. There's people, for the Department of Education, people against the Department of Education, and their point of view is multiple. Again, that's fine, because I believe that's true of an individual human. We have billions of brain cells, right? And our minds are multiple too. Sometimes there are people that are like, yeah, well, I don't like it for this reason, but I like it for that reason. But enough about Ron Paul. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of the idea. And the stuff of your soul is your carbon and your hydrogen and your oxygen. That's the stuff. That's the material. That's the substance in which the soul resides. It's just your body. You are it. Stuff is that cool, or not, or your soul is as uncool, or whatever. You know what I mean? If stuff is dead and somehow boring, yeah, you're dead and boring. But if living things are somehow dynamic and cool, then yeah, the dirt is dynamic and cool, because you are all the same stuff. And anything that you don't want to lose, that you think of as part of the soul, like somebody's sense of humor. A lot of people would like to put that in the soul, that there's just this little sparkle. And if they were reincarnated, you'd see that gleam in their eye again. That's in the substance. You don't have to get rid of that. When you throw out the soul, you don't throw out the sense of humor with it. It stays in the brain. Yeah, and down this route are various reinterpretations of all sorts of, traditional and New Age spiritual claims, which, the thing is, the search sometimes for the spiritual world is like a search for this world of wonder and amazement. And it is indeed, that is what the reward is, but this is it. This is it. That's the trick. That's the trick. You have to be wondered and amazed by this. All this stuff that some people think is just shit and it's crap. This is what has to, this is it. This is the heaven you have to find. This is, all of that stuff is right here. This is the stuff that the dream world's made of. Okay? It's a lot like a dream world, and stuff is the way that it is. And, that's the perspective, and that's the skeptical thing about philosophy being to lead a good life and use your mind and soul, or whatever it all is, in a healthy way, that where you recognize it as healthy just by having a feeling of calmness about the world and accepting the world for what it is, and it continuing to be interesting.